Time now for Inside Utah Politics.
And thanks so much for joining us. I'm Brien McElhatten. Let's go inside Utah politics now. Sheriff Rosie Rivera is joining us on the couch to discuss the separation from Unified Police, what that means for her office and the taxpayers. Welcome to the program. I appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Take me back to 2023 when the legislature is debating this bill, passes the bill that ultimately laid the groundwork for the separation of the two organizations. What was going through your mind as that process played out in the Capitol?
Well, what was going through my mind is what is going to be the consequences after the decision was made. So the entire time I have been sheriff, this issue had come up multiple times of having a sheriff oversee two separate organizations in law enforcement. And so we had been, going and fighting that issue, and is it a double taxation to have the county paying for Unified Police Department but also providing countywide services to the rest of the county? So at the time it was more of a defensive mode of leave my stuff alone, but
right.
But then reality kicks in, and when you really take a look at it, it didn't make sense that an elected sheriff was governed by a governing board. And once the legislature made the decision, I decided to support it. And really it is because an elected sheriff is elected by the people. I work for the people. And it made more sense that I continue to do that and not for a governing board. So.
Yeah, and that's a unique aspect of the office of sheriff, is that it is elected. You don't find that commonly in other law enforcement agencies around the country.
Correct.
Yeah. So you were reluctant at first. You had the buy-in, and you had roughly a year to prepare for a massive transition. Where do you begin prepping for something like that?
It was very challenging, and the legislature gave us 2 years. It was the Unified Police Department's governing board that said, no, we want it done by July 1st of 2024. Okay. So we wanted to go a little bit longer so we could have more time. But it was very challenging. In the last 18 months, we have been planning this, knowing it was coming anyway. But even now, it's still a challenge of how do you, when you have a department for almost 14 years, you're sharing certain resources, sure. And now you split those resources up. Canine's a perfect example. Okay. SWAT teams, we were sharing even down to records clerks and office staff, and now you split that up.
These administrative roles.
Right,
yeah.
Right. And now you have to figure out, okay, now that I'm back with the sheriff's office, how do I bring that back, and how do you pay for it?
That's what I want to ask you about. How do you pay for something like that and reconfigure the books so that all of that makes sense? That's a big process.
It is, and we're still in the middle of that. We're still trying to do that transition. Our priority was operations ready to go July 1st, and so far, knock on wood, that it's gone really well. But that's what we do well as law enforcement, is the operations piece. But then the other piece is the financial piece. How much is it going to cost to duplicate some of those services? And, every agency in law enforcement, for the most part, everybody has a canine unit, everybody has SWAT units, and so we are duplicating those services across the county. But now, under the sheriff's office, I have to create those same services under the sheriff.
Yeah, I'm thinking patrol, one of the most visible aspects of your office, and then search and rescue too, which is under your purview here in the county, right?
Right. And really with search and rescue, we just moved them from Unified Police Department back to the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. Our canyon patrol, we did the same thing, but we had to increase our canyon patrol because we lost efficiencies in other areas of the unincorporated county where we were patrolling as well.
Is it challenging to find, in the term of a sheriff's office, deputies, or in the terms of a police agency, a municipal police agency officers? Is it tough to recruit right now?
Well, for this new law enforcement bureau, actually it's a reestablished law enforcement bureau, we didn't have any problems hiring. We actually took 70 officers from UPD that applied, and there were many others that applied. So filling those positions hasn't been a challenge, but if you look at the correction side for the jail, that's where it's a challenge.
Mm-hmm. And so how do you recruit those people then? Because you got to staff it. You got to have people. Right. That's a critical part of what you do.
It is. And we do really well with our HR departments and our communications to get the word out. And we do a lot of recruiting. And really what we do best is our people are who recruit for us. They go out, they talk to the community, and they love their job, and they say that. And that helps. People come and say, oh, I could do that, you know. I've heard how great of a job it is, what a great department, and that's how we're really recruiting.
What are some of the challenges with modern day police work, right? Because I imagine the landscape has changed. There's politics, there's public perception, there's resources, right? What's it like to be in the police field these days?
Well, it's very challenging because technology can help us and it can hurt us. And, you know, like right now we're trying to put together a drone program. We were up in the canyon yesterday and we used a drone to fly around the lake, and that helps. That was something that we didn't have a few years back. You know, we would just have to take out our binoculars and start looking around. It's a big difference when you look at what technology can do for you in solving cases. Technology can really help us. And so we're trying to embrace that, but at the same time we understand how much it costs.
Yeah, expense is a big thing, right?
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And policing is expensive, and that's something that, you know, I hope the community understands, is that police training has to be top-notch, or you're going to have a lot of errors and a lot of issues. And so I'm always pushing more money for police training, and you know, and it goes from learning how to use your firearm to de-escalation. But it all costs money, and you know, that's what I want our public to know. It does cost a lot, but our priority is public safety. You have to invest in public safety.
Do you anticipate going to the county here in the future and making a case for more money, a bigger budget at some point?
We don't know yet. The county has been very supportive for us. The county council did approve money up front to help us get started. So now that we're, you know, trying to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, at the end, then we may have more money than we need. I highly doubt it, but I wish that was the case.
Wouldn't that be a nice problem to have?
But if not, yes, I would have to go back to the county council and explain, you know, we have to have these certain tools to do our job because it's critical. People's lives depend on it.
I want to ask you, all these years that you've been in law enforcement, why do you do it? Because as you said, it's not an easy job. There's all sorts of complicated factors. When you lead an office like yours, that adds another layer of that. Why do you do it?
Number one, I love it. I absolutely love policing. And I think I can make a difference. And I feel like I have as sheriff more than anything, because I truly believe in law and order, holding people accountable. But at the same time, we have to have this balance of treating people with compassion, empathy, and respect. And if we can do that, and if your leader believes in that, then that philosophy is spread across the board. And that's why we're such a great department with the Salt Lake County Sheriff's Office. We're celebrating our 175th year this year. And, you know, that tells you something. We've been around a long time. And as we learn, we make changes. But it's all for our community. That's what I really love the most, is I know that the people are the ones that elect the sheriff, and I know that I work for them, and I do that every day.
I've heard you use those words many times, respect and empathy. Those aren't words that traditionally we have seen plastered on the side of police cars. It's, you know, serve and protect. But can you hit that point more for me and help us understand the empathy and respect aspect of policing?
Sure, and I'll use corrections as an example. We incarcerate a lot of people. They are experiencing the worst time in their life. We don't need to treat them with disrespect, because some of these people come from all areas of our community. If you treat them with compassion and have some empathy, but we are holding them accountable accountable because they're in our facility, it flows better. We don't have a lot of use of forces. We don't have people trying to escape, you know, those kind of things. It really helps. And then when you're out on the street, if you treat people with respect, same thing, empathy and compassion, they will usually comply. And then if they don't, you know, we have the tools for that too.
Sure.
But if you know, I have found I'll have 31 years in September. That has worked for me for 31 years.
Sheriff Rosie Rivera, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Pleasure talking with you.
Thanks
so much.
Appreciate it.